All right, naturalistas, grab your hair products. Let's get into some things. And all of this is inspired by The Science of Black Hair by Audrey Davis Sivasati. I hope I said her last name right, but she taught me so much. So one of the mistakes that I was making in my natural hair journey was that I was using the wrong products. So our products range from moisturizing products to protein products. I was using a lot of protein products, which is like stuff like biotin and collagen, on dry hair. My hair was lacking moisture. It was brittle and dull, and I'm sitting up there giving it protein all the time. So our hair health is really contingent upon whether we honor our hair's needs, and our hair's needs are either going to be moisture or protein. Look on the back of your products, and here are all moisture ingredients right here. Take a screenshot. Go ahead. Okay. All right. And here is all protein products. Take a screenshot. Go ahead. Moisturizing products will always say stuff like moisture, replenishing, hydrating. Protein will say strengthening and reconstructing. This is something else to be very cognizant of, okay? And by the way, you should have protein and moisture products. But you want to make sure your product is moisturizing and not coating. So look on the back of your ingredients and make sure it doesn't say stuff like it have petroleum or mineral oil on the back. And also make sure there's not a whole bunch of silicones. These are some examples of silicones because these things put films and coat the hair shaft and make it hard for moisture to penetrate inside the hair fiber. Okay, y'all, so I did my mini twist. Oh my God, let me know what y'all think. It's so awkward when it's short. Like, it's so crazy, but it's time that my hair need a nice little break. I usually do them a little thicker than this, but I did it smaller because my hair is not as full when it's twisted. So I was like, you know, let me just do the twist a little bit smaller. But listen, I'm finna keep my hair like this for a minute. Okay, y'all, so another tip I learned from Audrey Davis Sivasati's The Science of Black Hair. Let's talk how to properly shampoo your hair. So before you even apply the shampoo, like I have a video already talking about making sure you are washing your hair in a shower or making sure your hair is always downward. You don't want to be over the sink flipping your hair over. That's the opposite way of the hair's cuticle. So before you even apply that shampoo, you let the water hit the hair for about 2 minutes before you apply the shampoo to lift up the product residue, product buildup. And then when you apply that shampoo, let the shampoo sit for at least 2 minutes. So what I do when I wash my hair, like I wash one side and I let that sit while I wash the other side, and then I rinsed out the other side, had the other side with the shampoo still in it, and then rinse out the other side. Okay, guys, another thing I learned from Audrey Davis Sivasati, The Science of Black Hair, is using the proper bobby pins. You always want to use bobby pins with open prongs. So here's another example of an open prong. There you go. All right, guys, let's go back to the bobby pins. So when the cushions at the top of them bobby pins fall off, throw it out. You're finna rip your hair out if you keep it. Another thing is when you wear bobby pins, do not sleep in them or make sure you don't keep them in the same place all the time. And Audrey Davis quotes, when worn frequently in the same position in the hair, hairpins can repeatedly crease and bend the cuticles, causing damage. When wearing clips, clamps, or pins of any kind, be sure that you change their positions regularly so as not to stress the hair in a particular area. All right, guys, another tip I learned from Audrey Davis Sivasati's book, The Science of Black Hair, over the sink washing. Now, I know a lot of us, we like to wash our hair in the sink, but the problem with washing our hair over the sink is when we're flipping our hair upside down, that is the opposing way of our hair's cuticle. Our hair's cuticle is down. So when we're flipping it over, we create a whole bunch of unnecessary tangles and stressing the hair fiber out. All right, so stop doing it. So another tip I learned from Audrey Davis Sivasati's fine book, The Science of Black Hair, is that heat protectant goes both ways. It's the heat protectant that we use in the lowest conductivity is the best, which is usually the heat protectants with silicones in it. And it's also making sure that we have enough water in our hair fibers. So the heat protectant slows down the heat transfer from the heat tool to our hair, which is great. But when we have enough moisture and hydration and water in our hair fiber, what that does is it doesn't allow our hair to heat up so fast. So when you take a heat tool and you blow dry your hair and it heat up so fast, that's because your hair is very dry. So it's very important to make sure you got enough water in that hair fiber so that way your hair is not drying so quickly, which acts as a buffer so your hair doesn't get heat damage. A way to get moisture into that hair fiber is making sure you're washing your hair frequently, once a week, doing a deep condition. Also making sure you're moisturizing your hair daily or when it needs to be moisturized. Make sure that shampoo and conditioner is hydrating and moisturizing too. Let me tell you guys something else astonishing I learned in Audrey Davis Sivasati's The Science of Black Hair. What a fine book. All right, so you guys know the flat iron sheet is actually the real deal is actually called the Ferrucci. But what clever marketers do in a beauty supply store, my bad. In a beauty supply store, they'll put Chi on their flat iron. And what Chi stands for is ceramic heating iron. But what these clever consumers will do, they'll put Chi on their flat irons that are not even real ceramic Chi flat irons, the Ferrucci. And now you done bought some and now your hair ain't right and you done messed your hair up because you thought you had a Chi, but you really had a Cha. So just make sure you're paying attention to that. Another interesting fact I learned in The Science of Black Hair by Audrey Davis Sivasati is that blow drying your hair is like putting your hair through a tornado. And in fact, blow drying your hair for long periods of time on lower heat level is better than blow drying it for shorter periods of time on a high heat level. Now, the first half of blow drying, which when it dries the outside of the external hair shaft, the external part of the hair, that is just removing the physical displacement of water. But to actually get the hair dry to the touch, that blow dry has to remove all internal moisture from the hair. That's why heat tools can be very dangerous if you don't put enough moisture in your hair. Going back to what I said about heat protectants, there's two types. There's a heat protectant that you can buy and spray. These heat protectants usually include silicone. Silicone has the best low conductivity rate. The other heat protectant is making sure our hair is properly hydrated. What this does is acts as a buffer and slows down how fast our hair heats up when heat is applied. Another tip I learned from Audrey Davis Sivasati's book is that when sealing the hair with the oil, it is best to use a polar oil, because they have small molecules and they can penetrate through the fiber. So polar oils are like coconut oil, shea butter, castor oil, because since they have low molecules, they can penetrate into the hair fiber easily, which means they can be washed away easily too. Oils that have large molecules, they just sit on top of the hair. This is terrible too if you got low porosity hair. So that's just a tip. All right, another tip I learned from Audrey Davis Sivasati's The Science of Black Hair. Let's talk silicones. Now, this is the thing with silicones. I've been reading this book for years, and I remember when I started just eliminating all these products that I had with a whole bunch of silicones and petroleum and all bunch of other things that were coating my hair shaft instead of properly moisturizing. I'm not saying to avoid silicones in totality, but if silicones work really well when you use heat on your hair a lot, because they coat that hair shaft, which, can act as a heat protectant. Also, when your hair is straightened or blow dried and you don't want it to revert back, the oil-based moisturizers, which usually include silicones, the serums that include silicones, that's good for keeping your hair have that nice polished look without having your hair revert back like a water-based moisturizer would. But just ensuring that the products you use aren't loaded with silicones, and that maybe that you're not even using them as much. Since I don't put heat in my hair a lot, I typically avoid products with a lot of silicones. Now, the ones I listed earlier in the video are hard to remove with water. Here's a list of the ones that are easier to remove with water.